A very happy Monday, everyone. I hope you started this week off in style with loads of energy and that you're ready to take on this week to the fullest. I'm very happy you could make some time to listen in to this Notes to Nono. And this one is a very special one because conversations like the one I had with Jessica Posner-Odede are actually the reason that we came up with the episode format of Notes to Nono that is brought to you every Monday morning. This conversation really opened my eyes to how inequitable our world is today for young women and girls all over the world. It really made me realize that we're not talking about anything in a faraway history, but that a lot is still going on in this world and everywhere that makes me realize that things are not equal for women and men. So Jessica, she's the CEO of Girl Effect, an organization that uses the power of media to unlock the power of girls. And this nonprofit organization genuinely tries to help girls and puts them in the very center of the entire process to resolve a problem. And when I say problem, I do not only mean the big, atrocious things, such as girls not being able to go to school or being taken out of school because they are forced to marry at age 11. I'm also referring to far more subtle things, like how a lot of our technology is far more male-focused than it is female-focused, or that a lot of healthcare services that are provided are actually not really helping young women and girls because they're not tackling the real problems at hand. Now, Jessica does a far better job in explaining these problems that we've summarized here in Notes to Nono. But also, if you have a bit more time and want to listen to it further, I suggest you download episode 31 of season 2, where you can listen to the full interview. Have a listen to this Notes to Nono, and if you like what you hear, then please spread the word so you can help girls to give them the ability to negotiate for themselves wherever they are in this world. And Jessica said that so beautifully, and I'm going to repeat it again. Give girls all over the world the ability to negotiate for themselves. Notes to Nono 7, Jessica Posner-Odede.
One of our principles is really meeting young women where they are. And part of how we do that is all of our work is driven by insights, by data actually from girls. So first, we work to understand girls' access to technology, give them the information they need about menstruation, about contraception, about their education. And we work through the platforms they already use, trust, and love. But I would say we take what we call a global approach to programming. Our brands are rooted in local insights that reflect girls' real realities and challenges, but we also use and share knowledge across geographies and ecosystems to impact the efficiency of our product. 70% of the challenges adolescent girls encounter around the world are shared. So whether if that girl is in Detroit, Michigan, or she's in Mumbai, India, or in Nairobi, Kenya. So I think that is one of the insights that we've really looked to drive our work. I think a challenge for us is still, though, digital access and accessibility. We know that there is a gender digital divide, that technology and access to technology is inherently sexist. For example, boys are 1.5 times more likely to own a phone than a girl. So for that, what does that mean? It means that we have to think about how do we reach her when we know that adolescent girls are a notoriously hard to reach audience. So for example, in Tanzania, where girls might not have access to internet bundles, we're really thinking about kind of lo-fi examples of innovation. So in Tanzania, we've worked through a widely available technology, which is a national interactive voice response line, or an IVR line. But we're really using that to provide girls with on-demand audio content. And we've received over 1.5 million calls to date through that platform. How do we create the next generation of products for adolescent girls that are designed with them in mind, for them, by them. We
Yeah.
actually want girls to be at the forefront of
Yeah.
designing the next generation of technology products that speak to them, as opposed to assuming that we know what works or what's desired by adolescent girls. Part of what I would say is find out what's already working and what's already happening and led by people closest to the problem. For me with Shofco, my husband was born and raised in Kibera, which is one of the largest slums in Africa,
Mm.
and really had a vision for what his community should look like. And so I really became a kind of supporter and ally of his vision. And I
Yeah.
think there's so much pressure in our culture to be the social entrepreneur, to have it be focused on you, where really there's already so many amazing initiatives that exist. So I would say first, learn, find out what's out there, and become part of something that already exists, as opposed to necessarily having to start something yourself.
Yeah.
And the next thing I would say is really take an interest. We're so and all guilty of living in our kind of little isolated bubbles. And so, how do you pick your head up and really learn about what the problems are, but also who's solving them? And again, pushing the kind of onus to solve these challenges on those who have intimately experienced them
Yeah.
themselves. And so I would really say, read, learn, figure out what's happening and where support is needed, ask questions, offer yourself in service, but don't assume to have the answer. So
Yeah.
that's really what I would recommend. The people closest to the problem, which we've just spoken about, are also the best place to solve it. My mother-in-law has a great saying. She always says, he who or she who wears the shoe knows exactly where it pinches. Across our sector, the development sector, there have been billions of dollars invested in services for girls. So those could be building health clinics, sponsoring family planning, immunization, building schools for girls. But I think the real challenge is that even when these services exist, girls don't necessarily use them at the rates we'd hope because they often don't see these services as being for them. So, for example, a girl could live 10 minutes from a health clinic, but
Mm.
never walk through the front door simply because she doesn't believe that she's the type of girl who can do that, who can ask
Yeah.
those questions. Imagine in school, there's so many girls who sit at the back of the classroom, never raise their hands, don't see themselves as being in that position. So for us, really what we do is we're that bridge between girls and the services and resources that exist around them that they need, but that they might not be actively seeking out, utilizing, maximizing. So how we do this is we use behavior change science to really talk to that girl, to
Mm.
build her tools, her ability to negotiate with her parents, to do homework instead of chores in the evening, to really cultivate her identity, how she sees herself as
Mm.
the type of girl who takes control of her life. We need to make smarter investments in building an ecosystem that supports girls, not in just the services we talked about, but also in the girl wanting that service. And so for us, I think what we can do is we need to, as a community, look at education in a holistic way. It's not as straightforward as she's in school, she's in a classroom, but what tools does she have to stay in school, to negotiate for herself, to protect herself, to go back to school? So we really look at education as a holistic platform beyond the classroom, and we equip girls with the information, advice, and support they need really just to navigate life. And another thing I'll say is before the pandemic, I was in India meeting with girls outside of Mumbai and girls who consume our brand in India called Chaja. And I asked these young women, what's the biggest challenge you face in your life? It wasn't going to school, it wasn't getting a job. It was one cross-cutting thing, which is what they said is her ability to negotiate for herself. And
Wow.
that comes into play every day with negotiating with your parents to do homework, to go back to school, to get a job instead of getting married, to navigate all of the challenges which have been augmented by the pandemic. So I really think that's what we need to do. We need to invest in girls' capability to negotiate for themselves.
Yeah.
And we really need to see that as a critical intervention, not just building schools or health clinics. But there's actually something more fundamental and foundational that will impact her ability to use that health clinic to stand up for herself in school, to stay in school.